Hi, I'm Sophia.
And I'm Layla.
And today we will be critiquing police brutality in the Canadian criminal justice system. Police brutality is the use of excessive and/or unnecessary force by police when dealing with civilians. Excessive use of force means a force well beyond what would be necessary in order to handle a situation.
Police officers now take advantage of how much power they have because they know they cannot be seriously punished or charged. Police officers use deadly, unnecessary force and they can get away with anything without any severe sentences. This has become a major problem in our society and in our Canadian justice system.
Recently, there has been an increase in police brutality.
This may be due to all the technology available today. Almost everyone has a cell phone and they can film and take videos. Police are supposed to protect people, so when they do things like shooting excessively a mentally challenged person, people start to fear and hate the police officers.
If citizens are afraid of the people who are responsible for protecting us, then whom do we go to when we need help? Sammy Yatim was 18 years of age when police officer James Forcillo took his life. Just before midnight on July 26, 2013, Sammy Yatim boarded a westbound Dundas streetcar and made his way to the back. Sammy was wearing a baseball cap, black t-shirt, and jeans that were very loose-fitting.
Four young women got on the streetcar around Spadina Avenue and sat in the back near Sammy Yatim. Soon after the women arrived, Sammy Yatim unzipped his pants and flashed the four women. The other passengers on the streetcar heard screaming coming from the back of the streetcar and turned around to see one woman jump out of her seat frightened.
In Yatim's hand was a stiletto switchblade. He had tried to slit the woman's throat. The crowd on the streetcar ran forward in a panic and tried to get as far away from Sammy Yatim as they could.
The streetcar driver saw the rush behind him, so he pulled over and stopped the vehicle at Bellwoods Avenue, opening all the doors. Passengers started to run out the doors as fast as they could. Then it was just Yatim and the driver. The passengers who fled called 911 immediately. The police were just seconds away. When the police showed up, the driver then bolted and ran out of the streetcar just as Yatim sprung toward him with the knife.
After the driver escaped, Sammy Yatim was left alone at the front of the streetcar when Constable James Forcillo and his partner, the first cops to show up, hurried to the open doorway.
Without any communication, Forcillo pulled out his gun. A police-issued Glock 22 with hollow point bullets stood approximately 12 feet away from Sammy and aimed squarely at Sammy. Forcillo then told Sammy to drop the knife, but Sammy refused and swore at Forcillo. Sammy kept refusing as Forcillo requested a taser to tame Sammy. Forcillo and two other cops shouted at Sammy to drop his weapon, but Sammy always refused and continued to swear at the police.
James Forcillo warned Sammy, saying, "If you take one more step in this direction, that's it for you. I'm telling you that right now." Yatim then turned away and walked further into the streetcar and appeared that he was obeying. But then, surprisingly, Yatim turned back around and took another step towards Forcillo. Another cop was yelling at Yatim, telling him to drop his knife. But before he could finish his sentence, Forcillo fired 3 quick shots. Yatim then fell to the floor, still holding onto the knife.
Cops continued to yell at Sammy, demanding him to drop the knife, when Forcillo squeezed in 6 more shots.
The cop to Forcillo's right hand had his gun drawn, but he never fired, and his partner, standing a few feet to his left, never even took her gun out of her holster.
Almost a dozen cops ran over to Sammy to see him still moving and still clenching the knife. The division sergeant arrived, ran through the front doors, and tasered him. Several more cops showed up on the scene. One kicked the knife out of Sammy's hand, and another started CPR.
Forcillo abruptly walked away and stood by himself for a couple of minutes.
Police continued doing chest compressions on Yatim until the paramedics arrived on the scene and took over. Sammy was pronounced dead at St. Michael's Hospital early in the morning of July 27th.
In its essence, the training police officers receive on lethal force is simple and clear. Use it only when necessary to stop serious injury or death. The police service does anything they can to prepare officers for an encounter that could turn deadly, but the training has no formula. If there was a specific formula to follow, it would be easy to determine if Forcillo actually followed the training.
As soon as Forcillo and his partner arrived on the scene, Forcillo repeatedly instructed Yatim to drop the knife. Forcillo had his gun pointed at Yatim as he approaches. During police training, they are instructed to have a thoughtful and planned approach and continually reassess the situation.
One of the most effective practices is to clearly communicate to someone posing a danger to themselves or others, including simple instructions such as yell and drop the knife. However, training suggests that officers should switch methods if the message is not getting through. According to former police chief Robert Warshaw, Fursillo made no effort to have any interaction with Yatim to create dialogue or learn what was on his mind. Fursillo's use of profanity was also criticized when he told Yatim to drop the effing knife. It was clear there was no action plan.
As Yatim refused to drop the knife, Fursillo repeated the instructions and then called for a surgeon with a taser. He then told Yatim, "You take one step in this direction and I will shoot you. I'm telling you right now." During police training, if a message such as "drop the weapon" is not getting through, officers are told to try a different tactic, including talking to the person and in a reassuring voice, perhaps offering them help. This is especially true when someone is in crisis.
The bus driver on Sammy Yatim's bus stayed on the bus with him for a while. If Yatim was that dangerous, the driver would have immediately gotten off the bus. Fursillo did not make use of his most valuable asset, time. Had he attempted to get more time by engaging Yatim in conversation, Fursillo would have had more options, including access to the taser he called for, which arrived shortly after Yatim was shot. When Yatim refuses to drop the knife and then takes a sidestep towards the top of the streetcar steps, but close to where he had been before, Fursillo shoots 3 times. The police training states that when encountering a person with a weapon, the possession of the weapon alone is not grounds for lethal force. They must pose an imminent threat. They must appear ready to use the weapon. Officers must distinguish between imminent and potential threats. Officers are also told lethal force should only be used as a last resort. Yatim posed no imminent threat. Fursillo had several other options that were available to him.
5.5 seconds after firing the volley of 3 shots, which struck Yatim and made him fall to the floor of the streetcar, Fursillo fired at Yatim 6 more times. Lethal force can only be used until the threat has ceased. The force should have stopped once Yatim has stopped advancing and dropped the weapon. Toronto police are trained to do tactical takedowns, and Fursillo did not do a good job at this or at de-escalating the situation. How dangerous can you be after having been shot 3 times?
Fursillo faced 2 charges related to the shooting death of 18-year-old Sammy Yatim on a streetcar in 2013, but was found not guilty of second-degree murder. The jury believed Fursillo was justified in firing the first 3 shots at Yatim, but not the second round of shots, and hence was guilty of attempted murder.
This does not provide justice to anyone because nobody got hurt but Sammy and his family. The police officer did not do a good job in de-escalating the situation. There are other strategies that could have been used in the situation. It was very unfair what took place, and the situation makes others scared of the law force. This video makes people question the motives of the police. Yatim is also young and very scared. His body language on the bus was very hesitant, and you could tell he was under the influence of something. If he was brought to jail, there is a good chance he would learn from his mistakes and be able to get help with his mental illness. The police officer took away Sammy Yatim's life and freedom, so why should Fursillo be allowed to be free?
Justice for Sammy Yatim demands a change in police culture, not just charges against the officer who shot him. The grieving of Yatim has understandably greeted this as a victory for justice, but given what we don't know about the case, any rush to judgment would be unfair and unwise. Video evidence leaves no doubt that police handled the confrontation badly. The Special Investigations Unit concluded that there are reasonable grounds to believe that Fursillo, who was formally charged and released on bail, committed a crime that could see him jailed for life with no chance of parole for 10 years. Still, it will be up to the justice system to decide whether or not the officer had objective reason to feel justified in using lethal force against the 18-year-old Sammy Yatim. The video does not tell the whole story.
Improve in their verbal and non-verbal communication skills that are designed and intended to de-escalate an emotionally disturbed person and or a person in emotional crisis. Police could also improve on conflict prevention or crisis management training that emphasizes active listening components. Physical control options should be emphasized more in the police training, which will include realistic hand-to-hand defense options, respecting individuals who are in possession of sharp-edged weapons like this in Sammy Yatim's case.
Intermediate weapons need to be reinforced, and that will include the use of crowd management shields to enable physical engagement of individuals who are in possession of sharp-edged weapons. Police need to improve on the lethal force options that identify the difference between subjective and objective threats in relation to distance and the need to create more time and distance as opposed to acting immediately.
Body language is a vital aspect that needs to be reinforced as well, which includes perceived danger cues or patterns of behavior associated to risk, where none actually exist, just like in the Sammy Yatim case.